Hey everybody, it's Scott Shetler here at Extreme Performance Training Systems, and welcome to this week's episode of Strength and Health TV. This week I want to talk about a fairly controversial topic in the strength sport arena, and that is the weight cut. Now, if you've participated in any sports, whether it's wrestling, grappling, mixed martial arts, weightlifting, powerlifting, kettlebell sport, and the list goes on, you're dealing with sports that are, they're weight class sports, meaning that they've got divisions for various weights depending on the sport, however they break it up, and the athletes have to fall within a certain weight class to compete. Well, I shouldn't say that. They just have to decide on a weight class that they're going to compete in. You probably remember from high school, if you're in athletics, all the wrestlers always run in trying to lose weight, trying to sweat out weight. They often had their sweatsuits on and things like that, trying to drop all that water weight so they could go in and weigh in for the match or the tournament. We see it with mixed martial arts. It's actually a very controversial topic, particularly in the UFC. Now that they have been banned, I think the fighters have been banned from doing the IV, whether it's the chelation therapy or the rehydration, drips after, their extreme weight cuts. I know that practice has been banned. I know just in powerlifting and strength sports, you always hear people talking about cutting weight. And the one thing that I believe in, at least as far as powerlifting is concerned, because that's mostly who I'm working with right now as far as weight class sports go, that you really have to earn the right to cut weight. And what I mean by that is that if you're just a hobbyist, like for me, I compete in powerlifting competitions here and there. I don't take it serious as far from the standpoint that I'm not ever going to be in danger of breaking any all-time world records. I'm not going to win anything significant. I do it as more of a personal challenge. The level that I decide to participate at is just more about me trying to get better myself. I'm not going to live and die for the sport. I'm not going to go to extreme measures. I'm not going to do the things that I would need to become a professional in the sport. I mean, at 5'10" and 198, I'm way too tall and way too light for my height. I'd probably have to weigh somewhere in the mid-threes in order to be competitive at my for my body structure. So I'm not fooling myself. I participate in the sport because I enjoy it and because I enjoy the challenges that it brings, and I enjoy the whole process of getting stronger. In addition, I coach a lot of powerlifters at various levels, from novices all the way up to people who've attained elite totals, elite status, and everybody in between. And the way I would classify them is most of them are competing at the recreationally competitive level, meaning that they're not, they've got full-time jobs, they got families, whatever, but they're doing it because they enjoy the sport. They're doing it because it's allowing them to scratch a competitive itch, and they're doing it because of that personal challenge. And some of them have managed to lock down various records in the federations that they compete in, and achieve some pretty high qualification totals, which is awesome. But when it comes to the weight cut, a lot of times they'll ask me, should I try to diet down on the next weight class so my numbers are better and this, that, and the other? And I usually just say why, and it's not to be condescending, it's not to be an asshole, but why do you need to cut weight, to lift at a class 3, class 2, or even a class 1 level, unless you're elite, unless you're going for a all-time world record, or you're trying to hit a pretty significant total, multiple of your body weight or something like that, there's really no reason to cut. When you're doing this sport for fun, you're doing this sport to challenge yourself, and you get into powerlifting because you're trying to get bigger and stronger. So it just seems counterintuitive to me to spend the last week when you're supposed to be resting, when you're supposed to be healing, when you're supposed to be tapered and getting ready to hit your all-time performance at your competition, when you're spending that week dehydrating yourself, you're going to the sauna, you're doing some cardio to sweat. You might be starving yourself or cutting water, to make weight. All you're doing is putting your body into a physiological state of distress. It's not really conducive to becoming stronger. Now, I know the pros do it. I know the big-time lifters doing it. They've got, 10, 15, 20, 30 years under their belt competing in the sport, and they know what they're doing. They've taken their body to those places before, and they're also competing at a level that would warrant or dictate that in order for them to be competitive. And you're talking about people that have attained all-time world records. They've attained, the highest totals in their weight classes. They've attained the highest single lifts. Whatever it is, that's a completely different ball game than the majority of the people that I see posting their lifts on Instagram, or they've got 1 or 2 meets under their belt and things like that, and they're worried about a damn weight cut. And it's completely ridiculous, a waste of time and just an added stressor that you don't need at the level that we compete at. We want to go in and hit to be our best, and to do that you should be well fed, you should be well rested, you should be well hydrated. And if you go in weighing 202 instead of 198, honestly, who gives a shit? Unless you're trying, like I said, unless you're trying to break an all-time world record or something like that, and there's really no reason, or you're above an elite total for a lifter qualification, there's no real reason to worry about it. Now I get, in some sports it could be a little bit different. I've worked with a lot of fighters in the past, from mixed martial arts, from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, some of the combative sports. And I get that's a little bit different. I mean, those guys are born, learning how to cut weight. They've been doing it forever. And I know they know how to adapt their strategies to their competition. I've got some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu players that I work with, and some of their competitions, they've got to weigh in as they're walking out to the mat in their gi. So they know how to factor that in. You don't get to the level, these are purple and brown belts. You don't get to that level in those years of experience without knowing how to come in at your appropriate weight class. One guy I work with, he's usually walking around at about 205, so he's right at the edge of his competitive weight anyway, so he's got no issues making weight. It's usually a minor tweak here, a minor tweak there. It's not that big of a deal. But like I said, for lifters and people in the strength sports, powerlifting, kettlebell sport, weightlifting, if you haven't achieved a really high level or a high lifting qualification status, don't worry about the weight cut. It's about getting bigger, stronger, faster, not slower, weaker, smaller, is the joke that I like to say with some of my novice lifters. I don't know if it just stems from, people are so interactive on social media, online, they love to be able to hashtag contest prep problems and things like that. But you know what? Nobody's forcing you into these sports. You're doing them because you enjoy it. And you're often doing these bodybuilding and powerlifting and weightlifting and stuff like that. You're not doing this professionally. You're doing it in addition to working full-time, to being a full-time student. Maybe you're running a business, you have a family, you have kids. So this is your outlet, and it should be enjoyable. If it's making you miserable because you've got to diet, you've got to cut weight, you've got to dehydrate, this, that, and the other, and you're just miserable all the time, why even bother doing it? If you're going to be a competitive athlete at this level, recreationally or higher, you're doing something that you're choosing to do. Nobody's forcing you to do it. So I just think it's kind of funny when you see people just bitching and moaning online about, I haven't eaten, carbs in 3 days, got to make weight or got to make the cut, or I'm so dehydrated or whatever, so miserable. Then don't do it, man. If you're going to do it, don't bitch. Nobody's forcing you to do it. You're doing it to try to challenge yourself. So enjoy the process no matter how miserable it is, because no matter what you do, there's always going to be some level of suck. So just deal with it, Honestly, I don't think anybody gives a shit. So, my best advice to those people just starting out in the strength sports and things like that, grow into your weight class. Don't cut into your weight class. Take some time and build some muscle. So many people that I see competing, we could all stand to build more muscle and get a little bit bigger, to get stronger. One of my mentors, Jack Reap, he always used to say, when in doubt, move up a weight class. And it's right. And that doesn't mean you just go out and start eating a bunch of shit. Take your health into consideration and stuff like that. But spend some time. If you want to do this for a long time and you're really looking at getting, 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the sport and having fun and continue to get stronger, play the long game. Don't try to go out and bust out a 20, 50 pound PR every week. Take the 5 pound PR. Don't try to put on 20, 30 pounds of bloat and get all fat and stuff like that. Build some quality muscle mass, grow into a weight class. And then if you advance to the stages where you're doing really well, you're getting highly competitive, you're scratching on the door of that pro level of competition, or that highest level of competition, then you start making those decisions as to what you want to do to further your level of performance in the sport and what route you want to go with it. But by then, you've earned that right. I can't take credit for that statement that I made at the beginning of the video about earning the right to cut. That I actually heard Dave Tate say that in an article that he wrote about this topic, and he's absolutely right. You've got to earn the right to cut weight. Until then, get bigger, get stronger, keep your health in check, and most importantly, have fun. So hopefully if you're a competitive lifter or you compete in a weight class sport, you enjoyed this. Hopefully maybe you even laughed at it a little bit, but just keep that in the back of your mind. For those of us who are just starting out, for those of you, if you're a low lifter qualification, class 3, class 2, class 1 even, don't worry about cutting. Worry about growing, worry about getting stronger, worry about adding more weight to the bar and hopefully a little bit more weight to the scale before you ever even get to that point. And hopefully, some of you do get to that point that you do have to worry about that weight cut someday. Maybe some of you watching this, 5-10 years from now, you're a pro and that's a different story. And then by all means, you've earned the right to cut weight. But until then, unless you're going for an all-time absolute national or world record, don't be miserable that last week. You're going to have nerves. You're going to have jitters. Have fun. Eat. Drink. Stay hydrated. Stay healthy. Stay strong. And go in and kick some butt and get those PRs at your competition. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's video. I hope to be posting more soon. Just kind of rolling to the holidays. Things are slowing down a little bit. So hopefully I'll be able to knock out a couple more of these videos before the new year and get them posted. And for those of you watching this, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, have a great holiday season, and have a kick-ass New Year. We're winding up the year, so I hope you had a great year. I know I did. And if you got any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section below the video. If you've got any suggestions for future episodes, please leave those in the comments section as well. And as always, stay strong, stay healthy. Until next time.